Hey y'all, so Thanksgiving is hands down the best holiday, right? It's not even up for debate. Regardless of that, Thanksgiving signals in the fact that it is holiday season, right? And I know the holiday season can be tricky, so I have some self-care reminders for you during this season. Let's get into it. Jessica here. I am here to give you your daily dose of self-care and inspiration. It is my belief that consistently using self-care habits will allow you to have a soft and blessed life. So let's get into it. So as you've seen from this intro, we know that today we are talking about the holiday season, right? And there are so many holidays that are amazing. There's so many things that happen during this season. Before we start, comment below, what is your favorite holiday during holiday season? So we know that there are so many holidays, right? We have Thanksgiving, we have Friendsgiving, we have potlucks, we have holiday parties, Christmas, if you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, Haitian Independence Day, okay? So there are so many holidays, right? And so with that being said, I feel like knowing that there's so many holidays, something to also recognize too is there's a lot of moving parts. Right? There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of interacting with different people. And so with that being said, it's always going to be important to just really be mindful, right? There's so many things happening during this season that I want us to just prepare with some self-care tips to make sure that we are enjoying this holiday season. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, name your boundaries, right? So regardless of whichever season it is, most likely you are going to be around people that you may not have spent as much time with, or you don't spend as much time with on a regular, right? So for Thanksgiving, Christmas, all these seasons, right? And one thing I found is as we evolve, it takes people some time to realize that, right? People need to be introduced to the new you, right? And so sometimes that can be family and loved ones, right? And so I think with that being said, it's important that like we are introducing them to the new us, right? And we're doing that by naming our boundaries, right? If there's a joke that we're not a fan of, we're saying, you know, I don't appreciate when people talk about my weight, right? If there's like a comment that you don't like, we're naming that right away, right? Because I think that people also need to understand that we grow. And it takes people a while to understand that we're growing, right? We have to give people a chance to catch up to the new us. And with that being said, we also have to stand up for the evolving us. The evolving us, our voice needs to be heard, right? So if you're like, I know, for example, I was someone who was very quiet as a kid. And now I'm very vocal about like, just like my needs. I'm very vocal about needing me time. I'm very vocal just about like how I want it to be spoken to. So these are things that I've grown and I've developed, right? And because I've been vocal about my boundaries, people have respected them. So again, make sure you are naming your boundaries so that people know them and can respect them. So coming with tip number 2, find time to recharge. So whether it is Thanksgiving, a holiday party, Friendsgiving, these experiences can be very overstimulating, right? That means you're around a lot of people for an extended period of time. And I know for me, I'm someone who's an extroverted introvert, that sometimes I know I recharge by being alone, right? And so my tip to you is when you are in those scenarios where there are a lot of people around, find some time to recharge. And that can look different. That can look like going outside to take a walk. That can look like being on your phone. That can look like putting your headphones in, listening to music. That can look like laughing at memes, right? You know best what works best for you. But I think that it's always important to remember, it's important to remember and to also name that like we need time to recharge and it's okay. And I found that when we say that, hey, I'm taking a minute, a second for myself, or I'll be back, I need to recharge, people respect that and people respect that boundary. So I think that that's something that like we just need to make sure we're doing. Because what happens when we don't recharge? When we don't recharge, when we don't take that break, we are more susceptible to being irritable, to being annoyed, to snapping at people, to throwing shade, right? All these things happen like when we've been around people for too long, right? And so I say that to say that it's important to really just be mindful of just taking care of my needs, taking care of just recharging, just needing to go outside. Just needing to take a break from people, right? It's okay to advocate for a break from others, right? Again, it's about being proactive. If you looked at my video about proactive self-care, We talked about like doing things ahead of time, or like thinking of things ahead of time to make sure you are planning for your wellness, right? And thinking of the time that you need to recharge is part of proactive self-care. If you did not watch the video, I'll link it below so that you're able to see it. Y'all, so now we're going to get into the final tip. So the final tip is to practice mindfulness. So if you're not familiar with mindfulness, mindfulness is the practice of just focusing on the moment, right? Just appreciating and taking in everything that happens in that moment. And I think that sometimes with holidays, we can be thinking, oh, I have this deadline. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do my laundry. I have to pick up the kids, etc. Right? There's so many responsibilities that like we're thinking of as we're like at these different functions. And my challenge to you is to be mindful. Why? One thing I've learned is that like it's not gonna always look the same, right? The people who are around the table for Thanksgiving might look different, right? It might not be the same people at the table next year, right? Also, people grow, people move, kids grow, people change, families happen, right? So one thing I've noticed is that like a season may not last for forever, right? You may be around people who just may have like a different life trajectory, and they're not there to celebrate holidays with you. So it's really important to just appreciate the moment and really take it in, right? And sometimes that can look like, silencing your phone. That can look like taking pictures. That can look like making sure that you are having conversations with people that you have not seen in a while. Making sure that you're really asking them, how are you doing? Taking in all of that, right? Because it's not always gonna look different. I know that for me, my holidays have not looked the same every year. Every year it changes. And so I've had to tell myself, appreciate what you have now because it can look different next year, right? So with that being said, those are my 3 reminders for making sure that you are just pouring your cup and being well during holiday season. Which reminder do you feel like you'll be needing the most this holiday season? Please comment below. If you are not subscribed, please make sure you are. And if you are subscribed, please make sure you are hitting the notification bell so that you are able to catch any new videos that pop up. Thank you and enjoy the holiday season. Speak to y'all later. Bye.